Hey everyone, so today we are joined by Chris Elliot. He is the one and truly who literally started out making the game. So we have a lot to go over and he's going to be displaying some concept art. Some of it you might have seen, but some of it I've got to say Chris is going to give some insights into. So let's have a look.
Back in the day, I do it sometimes these days still, but originally I would just be sketching stuff right on a piece of paper. Blue pencil crayon. It just kind of flows more naturally. These are like Fling thing ideas. There's some maybe people have never seen that never made it into the game. But I always think like an old doodle that I kind of dismissed or just never happened might inspire a monster like years later. Fling thing, bosses, grocery lists and notes and reminders. My sketchbooks are usually full of a whole lot of scribbles and useless stuff. But I did happen to find the page. Some of these I'm sure everyone's seen. But
Oh wow, can we have a look at that? Oh, I think that sort of looks like, it's like that, a critter almost, isn't it?
yeah.
It looks like, do you remember
Oh yeah, one
the
of them.
Owlesque concept
Yeah,
art?
yeah.
It sort of looks akin to that.
Yeah, we had this fixation on bamboo for some reason. Like it looked like musical and flutes. So all the way back from Thumpies and Fling a Thing and My Singing Monsters.
That's so funny. When I was little, I used to put the bamboo, you know, the decoration you first get. I used to put that everywhere because I like that the most as well. You guys will have seen on my islands. I used to put them at the back. I'll put images up on the screen.
So this here is actually the page where I remember the day Dave called me and Burge into Claudette's office, and Dave had pitched My Singing Monsters to Claudette, and we got the go-ahead to start. And within that meeting, I was just like doodling. And I think it was these two were the first two, because at the time, like I'm not an animator, so I was like designing simple things that if I had to animate them, I could figure that out. And like Fling a Thing and Maw were a couple of the really early monsters. Until we brought on Tigh, who's like an amazing animator, and he's also musically inclined. And that upped the ante. But when it came to like Bogart playing a bow, Tigh knew where to put the fingers to make it look like he's actually playing. Because I think in the beginning we were thinking Muppets, like open, close, open, close.
That's so funny as well, isn't it?
And like maybe you time it to the voice, maybe it's not that important. But I'm so glad we did, like went to the depths we did to get all the lip syncing and
Was
musicality.
Muppet seriously an inspiration? Because you then worked on my Muppet show.
Yeah, that was this weird cyclical thing where, like, definitely Jim Henson, the Dark Crystal. Because yeah, when we were working on Thumpies, I was kind of restricted in my ideas of like what they could be. And I remember Dave telling me, "Oh, think more along the lines of Pan's Labyrinth, like a little darker, a little creepier kind of thing." So that's when we started to get into like gnarled wood and creepy trees, and like that set me off, like that inspiration. So Guillermo del Toro and the darker Jim Henson stuff like the Dark Crystal or Labyrinth. And yeah, that set me off because I was like right up my alley. Like
we love the darker concept art, don't we? We want that paranormal island. We will get it.
Yeah, there's probably the first doodle of Maw.
Oh wow. I love your title art. It feels so iconic. It feels almost, you know, the Monsters' style has been embraced so well inside of that. I'd love to see what that logo could almost look like in the Monsters' style. It feels like it's almost its own thing. But you've drawn it like that, and it's like, wow.
Back in the days of Thumpies, I was getting inspired by the things that made me happy as a kid, like Saturday morning cartoons, breakfast cereals, the box art, the mascots, like cereal mascots and stuff. And I think we got a little too close to it, but when you look at the Thumpies logo, it's very close to Smarties and Reese's Pieces and just all the bright, colorful logos of cereals and candies. Cartoon logos was like a big inspiration. And it was neat when you could see people were tapping into that, like Burge had some of my art up on her wallpaper because it just made her happy, and she didn't really know why. It was just like, oh, something about this just makes me feel like nostalgic and happy.
It's so funny because everything that you say, I feel like the fans almost connect in a weird sort of sense because we have an island inside the community that we absolutely adore, and it's called Candy Island. And it's all of these candy monsters, and you seem so inspired by these kinds of things that the community is already kind of interpreting off of the game itself. So to hear you say that is like,
Yeah, like, it feels like a subconscious thing, but it's really neat to see that people are cluing in on it, kind of thing. Like they're catching the vibes I'm putting out.
Oh, I love this one. I remember when I was little, it appeared on, I think it was the Korean app for that one, and I always wondered what it was for.
I think it was just a random monster design. Back when I was keeping them really simple because I didn't know if I could make something walk around and dance. Until Dave said, oh, we got to get them like actually dancing and stuff. But then this ended up getting bat wings, and it was going to be an air monster.
Oh.
But then we went with Tweedle and some of that.
Yeah.
But I did bring this design back strangely years later, where it turned into the thing that has the 3 fingers.
Oh, Yuggly, yeah.
So yeah, sometimes an old design will kind of get remixed later.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, the first pot belly.
Could you share the tidbit, because we were talking a little bit before, could you share the tidbit about the elements and how they came to be?
Oh yeah, because in the beginning it was just, we're making singing monsters. So I would just kind of do random ideas. But as the design progressed and we realized we were going to have elements and mix these monsters and make 2 elements and 3 elements and bosses kind of thing, that's when like some of them started getting tweaked. Also musically, like this was the first doodle, Potbelly, and I think Tigh gave it an extra mouth because once we got the sound, it sounded like 2 voices going.
Did it kind of connect then that when you went, oh, we're going to have these elements, oh, but this monster, the enterprise like concept, that sort of suits that, shall we go with that? Or was it like these monsters, some of them were more grandiose and we were thinking, oh, we need more elements? Was the link, or was it a new concept almost?
I think in the beginning we narrowed down the 5 elements would be a good number to branch out and make like 30 monsters or whatever it was, like the scope of the initial launch. Because I think the game launched with Plant and Cold Island, and we had Air Island almost in the bag at launch, so we could launch it a few weeks later. But we had to rush and still get Earth Island and Water Island done pretty quick. Because in the beginning, like this was a new project. We got the go-ahead, but we had no idea if it's going to be successful, if people are going to like it. So it was kind of this slow burn, but then once it got successful, okay, now we've got to make like 300 monsters. So that's when we started to find all these other weird elements like plasma and mechanical, and we started to get more and more currencies where it's like, oh, like we need more than just coins. We started to get relics. And
we were saying earlier he thinks that he can't remember some monster names because he designed so many. But I think you have a great memory. I was talking to Dave, and he struggles to recollect on some things, but you have a great understanding of the origin. It's really interesting.
I do remember, like, the game's about 15 years old. I remember 15 years ago like it was 3 years ago, because the time has gone so fast that it feels like it's only, it's weird. Like you hear fans go like, oh, like that's so nostalgic. I remember playing that when I was a kid. Like they might have played it when they were 5 and now they're 15 or 20. And for me, it's like, oh, it feels like we made that just a couple years ago.
Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah. Oh, wow, what's this one?
Yeah, I don't think that made it anywhere. Kind of just a elementary idea.
Looks like a goblin almost.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or a weird tree stump, and that's obviously Sponge, but probably before he was a Plant Island monster. So I think Tigh gave him the leaf. I think this was still the stage of not giving things legs because I didn't know how to animate something dancing around.
Yeah, it certainly feels like the animators have got a lot more complex over the years.
Because at the very beginning, I'd be designing monsters and Tigh would be breaking them down and animating them. And he would sometimes like simplify designs and refine them so they could be animated. But also it was good because I might have made some nightmarish version of Pom Pom, and then Tigh would like make it a little cuter and more accessible.
The community loves that one.
But yeah, then as things kind of grew and we had to get a lot more content out faster, we got more and more animators on. And some of them are like specialists and we just focus on the animation.
Oh, I want to talk to them. They do so well.
Yeah.
Some of the animations recently have been absolutely outstanding. I was walking past when I first came and just hearing some of them, what they've been making, I just have to give big compliments because I look at the old ones and the new ones and it's so cool. Yeah. You know, animation-wise, it feels like you've come such a long way in that department. So well done. It's so interesting though as well because it feels like the style has remained almost. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And it's neat because we try to give everyone a chance to do some designs as well, so they're not just pigeonholed as an animator, because they've got creative ideas they want to get out to. But occasionally, I think our art director gives some animators a task of like, you're going to design a monster and texture it and break it up and then animate it, so that you know, basically they wanted people that are designing a monster to know about the animation so that they know what problems they're creating for an animator while they're making the monster. Just so you have it in your mind of, oh, maybe it shouldn't have spaghetti for hair because that's going to take me a month to animate all that. So
One of my friends, they have a monster concept that they love. It's called Medusa, and they're obsessed with it. They make all of these themes for it.
Yeah.
Raw Zebra, they actually made an animation around Medusa, and it's absolutely crazy. I'm gonna have to show you later. I have a lot to show you, but I'll get a video playlist ready. We can have a look. But inside of that video, it's like an animatic storyboard, and it takes you through this graveyard with all of these different horror type monsters. You'd love that because it's right up your alley. I'm gonna have to show you.
Cool. Yeah, Medusa would be cool and challenging with like all the snakes and
yeah,
especially if they're all singing different parts. Or...
Yeah, it's weird because in the community I feel like there's been some sort of fascination over mystical beasts almost, if that makes sense. I know whenever I make a theory or anything, I often do throw them up. They just seem to appear.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like you might be inspired by that sometimes?
I've always liked, Greek mythology and mythical beasts. Like they just inherently seem like they've got a lot of lore and backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just an evocative design where you kind of want to know more about that monster. Like, why does it look like that?
Yeah, it definitely suits that lore vibe a little bit more, doesn't it?
And then that's more of a Matt job that he'll figure out, like, why does that monster look like that? I think in the very beginning we'd come up with like weird names. Like I don't even know why Furcorn is called Furcorn. It was just like, oh, it looks like a weird acorn or something hanging off a tree and he's furry. We'd get different people throw in names. Like I used to call what became Mammott, I always called him Squatch. Like Sasquatch and just shortened that. But I think a lot of people threw name ideas in, and I think our receptionist, Amanda, came up with Mammott, and that ended up being the name. But then we started to get into a phase where I think Tigh named a lot of them because Tigh was really good at puns. So just taking weird musical ideas and making a weird pun.
I love whenever I hear about the early phase of the game, it feels like everyone didn't really have a role. They just came in and did whatever they could and then went.
Yeah, like I was doing the very first HUD, like the heads-up display and the menus and stuff, like on Fling-a-Thing and Thumpies and first run of My Singing Monsters.
Yeah.
Now we've actually got a specialist that's going to kind of go in and like clean things up and refine them, make the user interface a little more accessible. Because if it was up to me, it would just be everything's made out of bamboo, and it'd be like, I like clutter. Like my house is just clutter. Like if you imagine Pee-wee's Playhouse, but with horror statues and video game statues and stuff. So like clutter doesn't bug me. But I think most people they like things clean and easily readable and quick and simple.
Yeah, I know whenever I'm making my islands, I usually have a specific decoration that I associate with that island, usually in the back. Like the pipes. Actually, I put the pipes everywhere because I love that one. But I'd usually pick another one as well that I thought would suit the island. And for the most part, I tried to keep my islands quite clean.
Yeah, that was something we noticed. A lot of players, when they were making their islands, like to make them very symmetrical. Like if they put a decoration on the left, they put it on the right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
I remember, Dave pointing that out where he's like, that surprises me, but so many people like the symmetry. Yeah, and I think in the beginning, the technical limitations, we had to do a lot of mirroring of the island, so you just made half of it and used those parts again on the other side and add a couple extra little things to break up the perfect symmetry. Now, the limitations have opened up enough that I think some islands we got coming are like not even close to being symmetrical.
Yeah. Plasma Islet is really cool. I love how with the, you can't spell me, but with the new ones, I love how they're starting to not stick to that almost template of that island. It feels like you've got a lot more freedom coming up, and I adore that so much.
Yeah, definitely got more of that coming.
Yeah. Can we have a look at some more concept art?
There's like early logo designs. Just we did do a bit with that of just like sticking a weird little monster, replacing the O. I remember when we started to put out music MP3s, we'd stick a different monster, replacing the O each time. First kind of icon design. We had a bit of back and forth with our icons in the first few years because we were worried he looks like he's scared, like something's gonna hurt him or fall on him or something. Where I think that's kind of appealing, where it's like, what is that? it kind of draws you in. But we were worried like, oh, maybe that's going to scare some people off. So we tried different icons, but I think we've settled. I think it's basically Furcorn screaming out a little music.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I feel like almost the concept art. Have you ever seen Where the Wild Things Are?
Oh, yeah.
I love to draw that up in theories because I'm like, that is almost what this style is, but it's like a reflection of that. That's the closest that I can think of to what the style is, if that makes sense. I can't think of anything else because it's just so unique.
Yeah, that's definitely, because Maurice Sendak, I think, is the original artist and writer of the book. I remember that book as a kid, but only vaguely. Like, I know I'm familiar with it now, but as a child, I just remember like maybe my neighbors had that book and I flipped through it. And there's another one I can't remember. It's Monsters All the Way. It's some like book from the 70s or 80s of a little monster but he's like going across the world, coming across all these other weird monsters, and they were all hitting that.
Would you say those kind of inspired your style then?
I think so, but almost on a subconscious level, because that always was in my head, but I could only vaguely remember the book. And then it wasn't until we were making the game and I was like, what is that book? And I went and tracked it down later.
Would you say you had a fascination with monsters then?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, growing up, my parents always knew, like when it came to He-Man or getting Return of the Jedi toys, I'd always get all the bad guys and all the monsters. The problem was that you have like He-Man and then you'd have 40 villains to fight.
Yeah, that's sort of where the evil, almost horror style comes from with the original, yeah.
And I think, like as a kid, if you asked me what my favorite color was, it would be green, because like most of the monsters I like are green. There's like Creature from the Black Lagoon and maybe Frankenstein, whenever they colorized Frankenstein.
That's so fun. Can you tell us about Wubbox? Because he mentioned some excellent references that they made towards how Wubbox makes their sounds, and I think it's absolutely amazing.
Because I vaguely remember in the beginning, Dave wanted to do a dubstep monster. And he said, be like free, like it could be pixels that are moving around. And like, I couldn't imagine what he was imagining. But I was fixated on this YouTuber called Dubstep Mime, who would memorize complex dubstep, like a Skrillex song, and lip sync it. And he had this distortion on his image where his mouth like took up 3/4 of his head while he's doing this. But I was so fascinated with that when we started to do a dubstep monster. I thought them big, giant, scary mouth scaling up would be like a key feature inspired by that.
I love that. It's the expressions behind Wubbox that I really get behind and what makes them them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's so many memes and things inside of the community of the huge mouth or whatever.
Yeah. And I remember, I think there was like a TikTok craze of like, which Wubbox is the scariest, and like people were rating them for like which one disturbed them the most, or maybe it was
part
their
of the
favorite.
reason why we love Wubbox.
So I have little kind of pen and ink doodles, like ballpoint pen doodles of just parts of Wubbox, kind of trying to figure it out.
I see these designs, and another theory which we've been over on the channel is I'd love it if we saw almost Wubbox experiments whereby you get to create new species, new monster types, what originate from this kind of Wubbox family. The community loves that. I'll have to show you them designs as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
You'll like them.
Oh,
This is something they're working on.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like.
Yeah, they love your style so much. They're making their own island that's going to be more like that, if that makes sense.
Cool.
It's really hard.
So you have to avert your eyes because you want to react to it.
Yeah, so I'm like...
I thought that was a Wubbox for a second, but that's the yaw stretch.
Oh, wow. Oh, this looks kind of like Oddman.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
Around the time we did Wubbox, or shortly after, there was like an Aardman animation ad that came out. I want to say it was called Love or something. But it was this big mouth singing all these weird sounds. And it was like, oh my God, like people are going to think we ripped Wubbox off of Aardman. Or maybe they really got inspired by Wubbox. I'm sure it's a complete coincidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely subconsciously, like that claymation mouth, and like California Raisins was a big thing in the 80s. But yeah, I think that is incorporated into my style quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like Furcorn's baggy eye eyelids and eye bags is probably straight out of the California.
It's so goofy, isn't it? I'd love to see a stop motion monster. That'd be so cool. Yeah. Oh, look at the colossals. People in the community love the colossals. Oh, what's that one?
That's completely unrelated. A little side gig I was doing. Yeah, this was the vague idea at the beginning was these colossals were these like silent giants, and there was, I think we were calling it the Discord or something. Like the idea was they had some little spat that they don't even remember what it was, but for whatever reason they ventured off kind of silently and went to sleep, and they were kind of just slumbering, and then the whole My Singing Monsters stuff happens.
Yeah.
And eventually maybe these things might wake up. We never really thought of these things waking up until years and years later when we started to like, oh, we got to figure out how their eyes open and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like a vague idea, like something out of Never-Ending Story.
I'd kill to see that anime.
Yeah, the first thought was a sleeping tree kind of giant in an ocean of dead leaves. So if it ever did stand up and wander off, it's almost like it's in an ocean, but I was kind of just breaking down how the island parts might be. So I did like preliminary kind of tests and breaking it down, and then Burge was a really good painter. She was with us for a big chunk of the beginning of My Singing Monsters. She did a lot of the painterly kind of passes on the islands and obstacles and stuff. Really early monsters. So yeah, I think this would have been before we had the ideas of plant and cold and air.
I love the teeth on them all.
Yeah, Clambo. So yeah, Tigh kind of redesigned, putting the eyes into the mouth of Clambo.
Oh wow, look at the texture work on that. That's beautiful.
So I think those are the wishing torches. Kind of a first pass of Plant Island wishing torch. First bakery ideas. We started with bread and pizza and donuts, and then it was like, maybe we shouldn't be promoting junk food, and should we be doing salads and turkey and stuff? So I think we incorporated a little bit of that.
Oh, I love this design.
I forget what this one's called. Fung Prey?
Yeah, it actually came back for the Epic Farm.
Yeah. So I think Tigh gave it the mushroom head. And then down the road, when I got a chance to do the Epic, I think Matt mentioned, like, oh, a lot of fans liked that art, the concept art that was out there.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a bit of like pulling back those ideas.
Oh, one of my favorite monsters, it's supposed to have used this. I was talking to one of the drawers outside, and they were telling me about how they used that. So that's exciting.
And is it Cybob?
Yeah.
Like first little doodle of Cybob. And that got adapted with that propeller and stuff. So then when I think I did the Rare or the Epic, kind of pulled back some old ideas.
Pumping. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know if he was just banging his head with a frying pan. It does look like a ping pong paddle. Cracked mask. Yeah, this was a weird doodle that almost haunted us. Like somehow it was dropped into I forget what we called them. We have almost like a periodic table figuring out which monsters match with which monsters to make which monster, all the breeding and stuff. But this was in a like a placeholder in a preliminary, one of those tables, and that was out there in the public. So it sounds like there was out there in the community going like, "Where's this monster? We want this monster." So 10 years later, it ended up.
That was the one everyone was like, "We need that in game." Yeah. Oh, I remember this comic when I was little.
Oh yeah.
I can't find any drawings of it online at all.
I've
not seen that since I was little.
Yeah, somewhere I have it kind of all doodled out. It was weird how I found it emotionally touching as I was working on it. Something about him like innocently playing around blows her hair off, but then the second he notices she's upset about it, just that instant apology and forgiveness in a couple frames.
Oh, it's a part of why I fell in love with the game when I used to see that. But wasn't there another comic or something in the game as well in the news?
There was a couple, I don't know if they just popped up almost like ads, but yeah, there was one where ToeJammer was looking at a little fish in a pond, and he reaches out to touch it, and it like absorbs inside his body, and he's kind of nervously like I guess I'm okay with this, but he's also a little wigged out by it. That he's got a fish inside him now.
Oh, I want to see that one. Wow, that's crazy.
And there was another one, I don't know if this one ever made it out, but it was Mammott walking around in the woods, not realizing he was leaving footprints. And as he rounds a tree, he sees these big footprints, and he's like cowering behind the tree. What is following me? Like,
kind of like Bigfoot almost. That kind of style. Yeah. Oh wow, we have some of the icons that we used in game.
Yeah, is that the teleporter?
Yeah,
maybe?
so when you tap to teleport a monster to like Ethereal Island or whatever, that would come up. It's so cool.
The original cupcake. Something about I think animators did this, but somehow I picked it up, the blue pencil crayon, sketching things out and then inking them.
That's a great question. Why do you draw in blue?
Those animation pencils that are blue, there might be red ones as well, but they somehow easy enough to ignore that once you ink it, like the blue isn't contrasting with it too much. Yeah. So you can, scan it and get rid of the blue easy.
Oh, that's so cool. I use those icons so much inside of my videos. Oh, wow.
That was like
What's this?
I think for Tribal Island, and I was kind of told there's going to be some new monster we were designing for Dawn of Fire was going to be locked in amber, but then fans can be putting their monsters all over. So I think I was just putting all these little mini stages everywhere, like tree stumps and mushrooms and wooden
That's crazy.
slabs and stuff.
Wow. I love that. It's like you have a pedestal for every monster because they're all special. Oh,
So I guess we did a little bit of that where I think the tree stump has a couple mushrooms around it that could be pedestals. Yeah, it's probably Tribal Island. Doodles. Kind of early mask on it. I think I stole some of Ty's grid paper. Strangely, Tigh, when he concepts stuff, it's always little tiny drawings and it's always on grid paper. So if he ever has to like scan them in, you got to get rid of the grid now.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, there's the doodles of that. I forget if we ever made that.
No, I
Little
don't
comic.
think so.
Yeah, I guess he's catching snowflakes on his tongue. And he looks down and sees these footprints in horror. And he's cowering behind a tree. But then the reveal was that it was his footprints kind of coming around behind him.
Oh wow, that's a hugely funny comic. Wow, I love how that came together. Hugging the trees apart.
Really early monster. I think it kind of evolved into Bogart, maybe. Very first bakery, some weird little chef flipping burgers.
Oh, that's really cute.
Oh, that was when we had a guest from a TV series come in and she designed a monster. I don't know if her episode is out there, but she made some weird kind of giraffe worm. So this is her drawing.
Yeah, they got me to react to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a giraffe zombie worm.
They put me in the actual TV thing where I was reacting to it. They asked me to do it. Yeah. Everyone thinks it's real. That I think it was called. Was it Zofria or something?
Yeah. Zom.
Yeah, that's it. They asked me to react to it. I thought it was quite cool, but you could tell it wasn't supposed to be like in game. And you guys keep saying it's not coming. It was just for that. Beautiful. Wow. Look at that. Oh, I love that. Oh,
That sax one?
Oh.
I think I have some. He's one I wouldn't mind getting into the game sometime. But I think because something about him just like playing keyboard on his arm.
It's mutual but cooler. Wow. I love that. Wublins are some of my favorites. When I see them, they're so cool. You can tell that the team just really loved the vibe of that island. Did you enjoy that one?
Yeah, I think Wublins, if Dave gave us kind of a heads up of Wublin Island. Yeah, Ethereal was obviously going to be kind of dark. But yeah, I think Wubbox or Wublin Island, Dave had like a vague idea of a dark, seedy bar. Something about the music was going to have that kind of feel. So I think that's why the Wublin logo is this kind of neon light. I think that was the initial inspiration. But yeah, I think we went a little darker, creepier with a lot of the Wublins. Imajig, and that the creatures could be Majigs.
Yeah.
But at the time, our CEO Dahmer was like, nobody knows what a Majig is. Like, he was adamant that the game's title should be really simple because he thought, oh, Thumpies didn't explode because no one knows what a Thumpies is. So it should have a really simple name, like Burn the Rope. It was a game we did. Yeah. It was going to be called Firebug.
Oh.
But I think there was already some browser or program called Firebug. But yeah, at the time, Dahmer thought, like, no, just keep the name simple so people know what you're doing as soon as they see the name, instead of making up gibberish titles.
It's so funny you say that no one knows what it is. In the UK, we say thingamajig all the time.
And yeah, Dahmer's Croatian originally, so he's like probably never heard that term, thingamajig. So.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for showing me.
Yeah.
Oh, seriously, I'm
Yeah.
astounded.
So
Sorry,
now I'm gonna be all nervous. You should have been secretly recording.
I was secretly recording.
He's
No, I
probably
need
secretly
that
recording
footage
right
as
now.